coming from Nginx and see if it gives us any clues to why it's complaining. So if you look, I'm hoping you guys can kind of see this text window with terminal right here.
Yeah, we can.
So if we look in var log and Nginx, we can see that, yeah, we do have an error log that looks like it's filling up fairly fast here. So let's do a tail on it and see what it's complaining about. I can type. Okay. Well, it's complaining about a plugin that I don't recognize. ANGWP? Is that one you guys added?
Amber, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here. That may be the add plugin that we tried to add.
Is that the one that Bud wanted, the beach girl?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was having a whole lot of trouble getting it to work, and then I tried to uninstall it and add a different plugin, and then we weren't able to upload plugins anymore.
Okay. Well, let's look and see what permissions look like in that folder. Oops. Look at that ANGWP. Okay, so the reason it's complaining is because it's owned by Ubuntu both ways instead of www data being able to get to any of that. www data is the user that all web services run from. So it probably just needs to be changed on that. So actually, we just did down on that. We'll do recursive, so it picks up files too. And we'll keep Ubuntu as the owner, but we'll add www data. And there's a group, ANGWP. But it looks like it has its own error log. Yeah, there's a debug log here that it's trying to write. And you can see now that I've changed the permissions, starting to get something in there.
Okay.
Let's see what it's trying to say. Okay, so it looks to me like it's trying to give you a message probably for every banner impression that's happening there. And with a name like debug.log, I'm going to guess there's a debug setting you can turn on or turn off. And it's probably trying to give you, additional information.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would leave that turned on. You don't necessarily want to write in a log file entry for every time that tries to show banner impression for two reasons. One, obviously, just from a resource standpoint, it's having to open and close that file for every page view. That'll get ugly fast. And keep in mind that this debug log is outside the normal server log file location. Log files in Linux servers are normally in var log. And the nice thing about var log on all the servers that I set up is it actually runs a log management routine that will only keep so many days of those logs and will delete them so that you don't wind up filling up a hard drive with just log entries, and then you wind up in deep trouble because it's complaining because it can't write anything to the disk, it's out of disk space.
Gotcha.
So I'm not sure, Henry, you might look in the settings and see if there's someplace you can turn off the debug messages.
It looks like it's actually there's a setting here that says debug, right, and it has a little checkbox, and the checkbox is not on. So I don't know if maybe it's something that it's trying to do on. There's also a smart track which is supposed to help us track the analytics as far as the impressions. I wonder if that's what's causing the right file, but I don't know why that would be a debug.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be considered debug either. The other thing you might be running into, and it's worth a shot, because it was in there doing the complaining about, the file permissions. May very well wind up in a situation that you had turned off the debug, but it couldn't write it to the config file because it couldn't write to that directory. So you might try turning it off, or turning it on, turning it off again, and clicking save on your config and see if it doesn't keep it.
Let me hear that.
That's considered bad practice in WordPress to keep your configuration things in a config file. You're supposed to keep them in the database, but there again, you never know who writes these plugins, and bad practices happen.
There's a lot of bad practices in WordPress.
Amen.
Okay, so I turned it on and then turned it back off, and is there a way that you can tell if it's still
Sure, so here's
trying to write files, right?
yeah, I got a tail running on that file. Still getting some entries to it.
Okay.
And
Well,
I'm concerned about that is because I think, from watching the number of entries, because if you kind of look here, this is all 1 minute now going up most of this page. I think that thing's going to create some pretty good sized log files in a pretty big hurry.
Probably already has.
Yeah,
well, I think that it's, at this point, I've had a lot of trouble with it. You just have to find something else that'll work better for us. You have pop-ups and page scrolls. Well, we have pop-ups, but you have page scrolls on Ohio. That Page Build Pro plugin is no longer available to the public. I guess they stopped providing that. So do you have another option in mind for a page scroll plugin that you would recommend?
honestly, no, and I'll give you the honest reason why. It's because people don't use them anymore, so the developers kind of quit developing things. It is, I'm not going to say it's risky, but it's not necessarily always easy. What you can do is go into the Ohio server stack, just going via CyberDeck or whatever. If you look on either of the two web servers, you'll find this same mirrored content. Look inside of the bar www, and then you'll actually see it listed out. I think theirs is called aimmedianetwork.com. It's its main domain right here. But if you look in it under htdocs WP content plugins, you actually can find a folder that has a plugin in it. You can manually take a plugin, copy the folder out, copy it up to another one, and try to fire it up.
Yeah, if it's risky, I'm not sure I'm going to do it.
I understand.
But yeah, that's something that maybe as a last resort I'll look into.
Good plugins will go ahead and create their entries in the database as soon as they get initialized by being dropped in that folder. Bad plugins won't. Whether that one was a good plugin or a bad plugin, I don't have any way of knowing because that one came to us from CentOS. That wasn't really anything that we had anything to do with. So.
Gotcha.
So we can probably just guess it's not a good plugin.
Yeah, but I have to be that way, but frankly, yeah, probably. I'm trying to mellow in my old age. So. Let's see. I guess the next thing is trying to figure out why we can't do anything with images. For our next trick. Yeah, I didn't think so. Hold on, I gotta spin another computer here. My old laptop for me, I don't use it all that often anymore. Let me grab that. So.
No problem.
Of course, it's ugly or anything. I knew it would be. You guys doing alright otherwise?
Yeah, we're making it.
Yeah.
Super slow with this stuff going on, but you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, unfortunately, there's not much you can do.
Yeah. You liking your new job?
I do. It's different. Back to full IT as opposed to just dealing with the web stuff. So that's been different for me.
Right.
Kind of trying to remember things and frankly getting back to using Windows machines again. I'm such a Mac guy. Everybody who does kind of design work.
That's a big change. Yeah.
If nothing else, all the keyboards are different. It keeps aggravating me.
I have that same problem.
Going back and forth is tough, isn't it?
Oh man.
Yeah. Confusing the control and the command.
Mac
Yep.
send me into a cold sweat.
You see, it's so funny because I kind of used to be that way.
Yeah.
But once you get used to one, now it's like the PC is like, oh, come on, this shouldn't be this hard.
Really?
Yes.
So let's see what happens when we try and upload media here. First off, can we see the existing media library?
Yes, we can.
Alright.
Well, part of it. It looks like the newer stuff isn't quite showing there, but it looks like the database for it is supposed to be there.
Okay. Right.
And we did notice on one of the sites, if you scroll down, everything before like May 2019 is showing up as just a gray box. I think that was actually on the Republic.
If you go far enough back on any of those Indiana sites, you will see that. It's because we lost our hard drive in there. It was actually using an S3 plugin. Pardon me. That's my cell phone goes on. And it was on S3, has the 99's reliability, and you will only lose the one file every 100,000 years or whatever. What it lost was the index file for the rest of the database. So we had the entire database, all the file charts and everything, but the one file it could have lost was the one file it did lose.
Wow.
So yeah, we lost all those photos for that far back. Let's see. So the content files. Sorry, they're gonna be consistent. Let's back up here and see. Files should be alright, so files actually goes to and uploads mounted folder. And judging from the fact that it's in red here, probably is what you were talking to, Doug. I got that. Oops. So, our next question is, where did that upload to? Where did that point to, I mean? We don't have anything there. Alright. See, now we start counting my memory. It's been 90 days since I looked at any of this stuff. But if I remember correctly, that mount was to, nope, not electric cost systems.
Was it maybe to CloudFront or?
CloudFront only acts as a cache, so you probably do see CloudFront in the URLs themselves. But all that's really doing is saying, hey, I'm going to point to a place on the server. So at some point it lost a mount. And I'm trying to remember, we had some elastic block volumes created, and I wonder if that one was just a nice big elastic block volume. So now I'm just trying to remember what that would have been mounted to. an interesting question. Let's see, what's the best way to go about this? I'm cheating. I'm looking back when I created the snapshots at what was pointed where. Because that's why you're not able to upload things. It's looking for a map that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, we were wondering about that. What the heck happened?
Yeah, it only would happen if the server got rebooted for some reason and it wasn't able to mount it. Yeah, because you don't have, you've got the, you can kind of talk about these file names there. The FDA one, kind of ties back into this DA one here. But SD, G, and F aren't even on here anymore. So let's go back out to look at the, there are block devices here. You can see they're supposed to be A, F, and G, but F and G don't appear to be mounted at all anymore. So for our next trick, I'll just have to look this up. There's a file called FSTab that is what's supposed to get sort of remounted whenever the server will get rebooted.
Yeah.
So it was trying to do this to a folder called /MNT, which looks like it has not happened. So let's have it redo the mouse. Nobody's command to do this without a reboot, but let's try and do it and see if that mount comes back out. So did they detach a drive somehow?
None of us would have done that.
Certainly not on purpose.
Right. We've been so afraid to touch anything in there.
Yeah.
We make instance back snapshots, hoping we don't actually have to use them. We haven't had to yet. But that's about all we do in here.
I say that's never a bad thing. I'm just telling you that right now. Snapshots are always good. So it looks like Doug, you've been trying your hand at setting up a Windows server.
Yeah.
Do you have any luck?
Yeah. That was for
Not too bad.
setting up a kiosk server.
Alright, well, we're going to figure out how that device went away. That's one I may have to put a little more effort into, guys, because that's not a normal thing that happens.
Right.
You actually should see it listed in here. Just like you see this, the XDV DB that you see listed right here should be listed right underneath this one. So, an attached volume has actually gotten detached, and I will have to go back and figure out exactly how you reattach one of those. And figure out exactly what volume it was. We've got a few of them here. See these ones that are saying available?
Mm-hmm.
That means they're actually not attached to an instance. So we'll have to figure out which one of these was the one that was attached to that instance. And then what you do is you come in here and do an action, and you can attach the volume. You attach it in there, it becomes like /dev, xvd, vcde. You'll see them stack up. And when we get the right one mounted on there, then that command I ran right there, the mount-a, will put that back. So I'll have to do a little more digging into that one. I'll make some notes and send along as to what I'm able to find there.
Sweet.
But that would absolutely make sense as to why you cannot upload photos, and it would make sense as to why your OLED photos are not uploaded either, because it doesn't have any place to put any of those photo files. It knows where they're supposed to go, but it can't put them there because that place doesn't exist.
Right.
So I will look at those two for you and see what I can figure out.
Okay.
It shouldn't be a matter of getting that mount created back. And then, because we still, the F34 is still an FS tab, so it's just a matter that it's not attached to the instance anymore. So we'll have to try and figure out which one it was. I'll make notes that way you guys won't have to try and figure out the same way I'm going to have to, which is attach them and start digging.
So you think it was a reboot and that it rebooted into entries that weren't in the FSTAB saved apparently?
Yeah, I think what happened was it looks like either during the reboot or it's possible Amazon had some kind of failure or something. It doesn't happen very often, but it's a cloud service. One of the volumes got dropped off of the instance. So anytime you're dealing with Amazon instances, everything ties to what's called elastic block storage. And you think of elastic block storage, it's just hard drives. And you can attach and detach those hard drives from various instances. So for instance, you could take a snapshot of a machine where you knew you had done something wrong. You wanted to go back to that snapshot, but you didn't want to lose any of the data that was on the volume. You could detach a volume, fire up a new snapshot, a new server using a backup snapshot you made, and then reattach that volume to your new one.
Right.
And you wouldn't lose anything that was on that hard drive. It would just get kind of bolted in there like you would do a D drive if you fired up a new server in physical space and plugged that second hard drive back in there so you could get to the data on it. That's why they designed volumes the way they do. And somehow one of them got detached from that Indiana instance.
Okay.
I'm going to assume that it's most likely this 500 gig volume right here. There's a couple of them in here, and frankly, my memory is failing me as to which one was which. I think it's going to be this one right here because it's got some additional IOPS provisioned. And IOPS is just how many operations it's going to do per second.
Gotcha.
So we've done that to make sure that the website would stay fast as it was trying to read and write files to that folder.
Right.
So I'm about 85% sure that this is the volume we need to reattach. But let me go through and just make sure. I'll attach it and look inside and find the right one, and then I'll make you some notes.
Okay.
Let's see, what else we got here? The Valley Morning Star. There is a routine that runs. Let's get back out here so I can remember what server it's on. They have a little ingest routine.
So it's not a cron job?
It literally is, in this instance, it is a PHP file that instead of running via cron job, which cron job says run this every so many minutes, it's a PHP file that's meant to be running all the time, and then it's managed via that supervisor D process that we talked about that can keep an eye on those instances and we'll see when they fail.
Okay.
So if we look, that will be on this server here.
Yeah, I kept looking for cron files, and I was like, I don't see anything about this here. So, and then
I have a sneaking suspicion that when I show you that you'd be like, oh, okay, and then it'll.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of head slapping moments.
Let's see. Let me make sure I got that key in this folder. Yes, I do. Good. MVP, Ohio. Sorry, I bought this Big Mac when I left AIM because I wanted to be able to have one like I had at my office. I haven't put all the AIM stuff on here yet. Oh. And as you can tell, I didn't set permissions on the BDM file. Okay, so what we're looking for is, I mean, you know the pseudo, that just means we're going to run a visit with elevated privileges.
Yep.
And we're looking for a thing called supervisor CTL. And what that is supervisor's name of the process, the CTL is just the control on it. And if you look here, there's a routine for the Valley Morning Star, which is fail.
Okay.
So that tells you right there that it's not running. Now what we can try and do is just start it again, although it probably failed for a reason. So why don't we go look and see if we can tell what that is. Now I just have to remember what folder it's in. I haven't dealt with this stuff in 3 months. My brain's starting to slowly clean some of this stuff out.
I get that way after the weekend, so.
All right, so again, keeping with these same locations for log files, and I try and keep good practices with that. When I write these long-running PHPs, I try and make sure that they will write their logs to the same place that anything else would. So if you look inside of our log, you'll actually see 2 types of logs for any of these long-running scripts. One of them is the .out, and one of them is the .err. .out is just normal output kind of stuff. And let's look and see which one it was using most recently. Looks like it probably died on you May the 2nd. And so if you do a tail, and all tail says is show me the last, I think it's 25 lines out of a log file, and just put the log file in there, you'll be able to see kind of what it was complaining about.
Right.
And in this instance, I'm just looking at the out, and it looked like it was complaining about an unknown category. That shouldn't have been anything that would have crashed it. It would have just moved on past it. But let's see what the error was. Interesting. A division by 0 error. I wonder what it wound up with a 0 for.
Scott, oh, never mind.
So what I will do when I'm in this kind of situation where I'm trying to figure out, okay, what caused something to die, I will just come out to the actual directory where the file is and run it manually.
Okay.
So you can see I just bounced out to the directory, or a lot of times just doing, since it is a PHP routine, we're just going to use PHP first, that's the executable, and then just follow it up with the file you want to run. And you will actually be able to watch as it then processes the file. So you'll see it, open the database, here's the XML file it's reading from, here's the contents.
Yeah, I did that many times and watched those stories go by, but then didn't know where to take it after that.
All right. So it looks like it is complaining about this unknown category. So, bear with me just 1 second. Let's add a bookmark in here and I'll open that server up.
Is there a way to make it so you have to be like me to add a category in WordPress?
Anybody who's a global admin can add categories. Anybody who is an editor level can add categories. Anything below editor cannot. By default,
We just need to make a rule that they can't do that.
Well, yeah, so I think that's probably what happened is they created Inspire, and then I guess Falcon picked it up as an option, so when they push it out of Falcon, I don't know. But they keep making categories, and I think it's just a confusing thing.
But it broke the whole thing is the problem, right?
Right.
And that's exactly right. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once here. So what's going to happen is when I open this file up, you're going to see a spot in here where it's going to be like this category name that comes out of Falcon equates to a category number in WordPress, and you've seen those in the other routines. When they create brand new ones, it doesn't know what to do with it, so it kind of barks out. We can create an else in there, and maybe Adam, that's the cleanest thing to do on this one, is in that you're going to, when I finish this up here, you're going to see a select case kind of a statement. That is going to have each of the different categories. What we probably ought to do is just set a default on it that just sets it to category 0, which is uncategorized. So at least it would drop into WordPress, the routine would keep going. And then if they call complain and they can't see it, you can be like, well, quit making up your own categories. They should know what category to put it in, so look uncategorized.
I think that's perfect.
Alright, so if we come in here and look, MSN gets local. Oh, that's right, this thing calls the local ingest or common. See, there's one of those things that just slipped through my head, having not looked at this long. Okay, so somewhere down in here, based on the publication, we'll have the category mappings. There's the find authors. Here we go. So yeah, if we look in here, we won't find an Inspire because they didn't ever have that one when we put this routine together.
Then, Doug, how did Inspire get into Falcon? Actually, well, there's case Inspire.
Yeah, and all it's doing is a continue, so it's just, that was us being lazy. Zero is always the uncategorized.
Oh,
So
okay.
that way it'll still post it. Instead of them complaining it didn't show up, you
Right.
can say, look, and they're uncategorized.
So now we should not get an error at the end of this.
As long as I didn't mess anything up. Oh. They like to do this stuff to me too. Keep in mind, everything's case sensitive.
Oh,
Mm.
And I was told they were going to make them all lowercase.
Well, again, I don't even know how that got into Falcon. Because Falcon's not pulling WordPress for the categories, right, Doug?
No.
no. And I don't remember telling them to add that.
It's entirely possible if something's been laying around out there forever and somebody clicked on the one they didn't mean to, but
That could be.
Okay.
let's see if it's fixed it. Yeah, there we go. Complaining that it couldn't determine the author, no big surprise there. It'll wait for a few seconds to post it anyway, so.
Cool.
And there again, that's because we never could get any of them to be consistent in the way they wanted to put that stuff in there.
Yeah, I talked to them about that as well, and it's something we're going to try to, equalize across the board.
Good luck.
But, yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
And so you can see how it's moving on and doing the others, so.
Awesome.
So what I'm gonna do is just Control-C this, right? Because if I'm sitting here running manually, we don't want to do that, because then as soon as I sign off, it's gonna quit running again. But we feel like we got the problem fixed.
Okay.
But once you feel like you got the problem fixed, go back into that supervisor CTL, that control panel there. And we're gonna tell it to start this job so that it then will start it and monitor it. It'll
Okay.
keep an eye on it. If for some reason it bombs out, it will try to start it again. You can see that the reason it gave up here is because every time it was firing it up within 15 seconds, it was bombing back out again. So eventually it gives up.
Gotcha.
So if we just do a start, VMS, ingest, local, you'll actually see that it started. And if it was to fail for any reason, if you thought you had fixed something and then it, turned right back around and was going to fail out again, you would actually see it complain there that it failed, and you'd know to go back and keep looking. So, and then to get out of this is just the command quit. Now drop it back to your command line. So now if we do that same thing, you can go back in there, you'll see they're both running.
Sweet.
Cool.
So that'll be running again. The only thing you may run into that she might grumble about is it may double post some stuff. If she had manually posted stuff, whatever's sitting in the queue is going to go ahead and post. So
Okay.
Right.
she used to kind of grumble at me when I used to do the same thing.
Well, she would just do it right the first time.
Well, we all run into that sometimes.
No, it's absolutely true.
But, as far as the Herald needing to set it up for the XML push, I think you're looking to do the same thing, take the exports coming out of.
Yeah, they're already on WordPress. We got them switched over last month, but the export's not working just because we don't know how to set it up.
Do the exports drop into, did you get them as far as them dropping into the FTP folder?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would suggest in that case is to literally look at the files that you have here. So you can see that there's this, VMS ingest local, and that is very similar to the CC ingest local. If we look at one of these, let's open it in the browser so it's a little easier to read it. What you'll see is that it is just going to watch a particular spot in the tube and Beanstalk via queue manager we talked about. So as soon as Doug started dropping those files in there, it actually started creating entries in Beanstalk for those.
Okay.
And so it's going to look for this in queue. In fact, we can look here in the in queue and see Ghost Current Monitor Valley Morning Star. I would have expected to see.
We don't have a folder there.
Yeah, so let's look here.
Gerald?
We got some stuff in there.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
It's okay. There's some
There
other
we
stuff.
Again, if you think there's not much in there though, Doug.
She may have stopped trying
Yeah.
and stopped working.
Probably.
And that's certainly possible. Okay. Now let me try to remember how I built this. One of these watches. Now I'm just trying to remember exactly how I was watching those files. That's not it. That's X out.
Oh, that's where I got lost.
Well, I'm getting lost too. I know there's a way I'm doing it. It's just how was I doing that again? We just got those two. There we go.
Yeah.
I knew it was around here somewhere. So there's a check files routine in here. And you can see there is one of these for each of the pubs.
Yep.
To monitor the volume, restart, and coastal current.
Okay.
And all it's turning around and doing is moving the files out of your Falcon editorial directory into a working directory there. Doing it CPM. I remember why I did this. It was the only way I could do doing inside of PHP. I couldn't change the ownership of it, so I had to turn it into a batch script so I could run it as root and change the ownership of the thing. Otherwise, it wouldn't let me process them.
Interesting.
So that's what it's doing. It's changing the owner to something a normal web process can access and get to. And then it's firing the add to queue with the publication name behind it.
Okay.
So, and the reason you probably weren't seeing that when you were looking for cron jobs and stuff, and the same reason I didn't either, notice that I just did a cron tab as me. I'm signed in as Ubuntu.
Yeah.
What we actually wanted to do in that case was to look under sudo, because there's a cron tab that needed to run as root because it needed to be able to get those extra permissions to be able to pull it out of that Falcon permission directory and put it into the Ubuntu permission directory and change its permissions on it. So that's why that bugger was hiding from both of us. I forgot about that.
Okay.
So if you guys would like me to, go ahead and set the, a version of this thing up for you or whatever, I'm happy to do that. But you're also welcome to start in and do it yourself. You can see these things are exactly alike other than the folder names and just the publication name hanging off the end.
Well, while we're in it, let's just go ahead and add it.
We can do that. Falcon editorial for our next year. I forgot
I
what.
think it's
Call
Harold,
it Harold.
lowercase, I believe.
Yeah, I believe you're right. And then inside this local ingester working, we will create a folder for the Herald.
Okay.
And it has one in there only because we don't want to wind up in a situation where something dies in the middle of the night, server completely crashes out or whatever, and it was in the middle of a story, and then it dies with that story still open, and we've deleted the XML file, so it creates a working directory for just the one that's working on at that moment.
Okay.
So that if we were to die and we wanted to get back to it, we could. It's still in that directory, even though it's out of the queue. And that was just there again because, frankly, as I was trying to diagnose this stuff early on, I'm calling the editors and going, hey, can you send that story again? And sooner or later, they're getting tired of hearing that from me.
Exactly.
So I just created my own working directory that I knew would have a copy of what it was working on at that moment. So that has now been created, and what you'll find then is this will start to fill up with files the next time this particular script file runs. Now, I don't remember, looks like it's running once a minute, so we'll see those start to move here for us fairly quickly.
Okay.
One thing I would be a little leery of, just because I noticed it when we were looking in that Falcon editorial folder, some of the files that are in there are getting pretty old.
That's what that was what I was going to ask you about. Is there a cleanup routine, or what do we need to do there?
What I would do literally is come in here and just you can sort these by date.
Right. Just delete
Getting
them.
too old, I just delete them out of there.
Okay.
So I mean, like if you just want to do the stuff this month, we can leave those up there.
She's manually posted everything already. I think we can probably clear it out and tell her to start today.
Okay. Well, then that's what I would do then before that routine even gets a chance to run. Just come in here and empty it.
Yeah, that's a lot of files.
Yeah,
Wow.
2,400.
Really?
our routine's already starting to move them.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
2,400.
While we were talking, we'll just pull them out of there before it gets a chance to process.
Yeah, that was fast.
That's wild.
Okay, so that one, will be fairly straightforward. The one thing you probably will have to do, moving forward is going to be looking at that local ingester common file we had open.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure for the Herald that you put the mappings in for whatever categories they're using compared to the category number that winds up being on their WordPress site.
Okay.
So that same set of switch statements that we were going through earlier, looking at the Inspire, you'll have to build out the one for the Herald so that it knows.
And all of the publications are in that same local ingester document? The comments?
Yes, they have. If you look, they have each one has its own little PHP routine that's watching this folder, but they all do an include on that one file at the top. Where you got that one place you can edit it. But they also have their own little routines that are firing into that, so that just like you ran into, if the one pub died because they did something screwy, they don't take the rest of the pubs with them.
Right.
The Burkeville starts posting to GPS now, so they can't post anything.
No.
So yeah, what's happening is they're pushing out of there, and we activated. There was a plugin that News Engine used. They're saying on News Engine's side that they're getting back a 403 error when they're seeing the content try to get pushed into Brookville. So I was wondering if it was running into ModSec issues.
Didn't we?
Yeah.
Didn't we combine domains there too, Adam?
Yeah, so that's the one that used to be whatever what's the website, Doug? I don't know. They combined publications, but it was still going to the old one and not to Brookville.
Right.
So Amber and I finally switched over the domain, so it has the proper domain. And we did everything correct on the WordPress side. It's just now they can't push content.
Okay. So here's what I'm positive is happening, because I remember this, and the folks at News Engine, frankly, have probably forgot. They don't want to use the standard interface that everybody else does. So what they're doing is just posting to Brookville RNA. They're running into that ModSec, I'm as sure as I'm sitting in this chair. If you remind, what is his name? I keep wanting to say it's Adam, and now I'm thinking that's not right. The guy who works,
Jim Mosley? Is it Jim?
Yeah, well, it's the guy who works for Jim.
Oh, okay.
It reminds them that they have a host file entry on that server for each of our domains.
Okay.
And tell them they want to set that Brookville SAR up just like the rest of ours.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Do you remember how we have in that cluster, we've got that one sort of maintenance server that sits there, that all the stuff posts through? That's the one they want to be posting to. And so if they're just doing a normal DNS lookup, they get fired through ModSec. If they put the host entry in like they've done for our other domains on their server, pointing to that one server we have that's specifically built just for doing all that maintenance, that stuff will start posting without any trouble.
Awesome.
They have forgotten that step.
Cool. Well, that's easy enough.
Yeah, and they'll fix it right away. We work together to make sure that would work, so they don't have to fight through any of the ModSec stuff. Otherwise, they were going to have to go through a whole bunch of authentication stuff to get past ModSec and all this kind of stuff. Like, no, this is easier if we just, can you guys make an entry on your host file? And they were like, oh, yeah, sure, that's easy. So we just did that. They had just forgotten about it when they went to do that new domain. Miami Valley today.
Yeah, so this is my current project. I'm combining people.
I got to leave before this nightmare. You don't get to drag me back into this one.
My only question on this one is the system too sensitive for me to export the XML files and import them all into Miami Valley today? Like to bring all the archive content in from the other WordPress sites?
Here's the only thing that I think you would run into there, Adam, and the answer is no. I mean, it would let you do an XML export and import. But what I think you're going to run into is the duplication of category and crossover between the category codes. So my one concern there would be that you may wind up in a situation where, if you're not careful, you'll have to go through and recategorize each story by hand, which would be a gigantic pain in the tuchus.
I mean, I'm not too worried about that. I think they just want their content more than organization. I mean, the way casual readers work anyway, they're not looking past the first couple months.
I would agree.
Pulling content over anyway. But yeah, my big concern was, we know how sensitive this thing can be. I don't want to take anything down by trying to import stuff or whatever.
No, it doesn't bother a bit. Those imports won't, or excuse me, those exports won't be huge. As a matter of fact, because they're XML exports, Adam, if you want to, when you do the exports on the individual sites, open the XML file and look for the categories and kind of build yourself a map saying, hey, if it was category 7 on this site, it's going to be category 9 on here, and do a search in place. So that way it'll drop them in the right category.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll do that.
Because if I recall, those sites, they didn't have a tremendous amount of content anyway.
No, a lot of it's actually duplicated across the sites. So
yeah.
Cool. Okay. Sounds good.
What's on the Brownsville Herald, the DB import question?
Yeah, so since we switched over to WordPress, we want to bring in their archive content. We want it all downloaded from Town News. We know where the scripts and stuff are. I think our big thing right now is we're just not sure where to put all the files and like on the Amazon servers so we can actually do the imports.
Okay. So yeah, they're always a little bit of a nightmare just because that's the nature of taking somebody's content from one to another. But if you look and on that same server that we're on right now, it's got the local ingesters for all your Texas sites there. There's an archive ingester folder. This routine right here is the one I always use to pull those archives in with.
Okay.
And if you open it, it actually will show you the directory path it's looking for. So you see, I built an array, and you can see where I've got some of them like commented out here as I was working through stuff. Because I get like tangled up in a folder, and so I want to do just a few at a time, and then I'd feel better about it, and I'd make another pass through those folders. So that's why this is kind of squirrely right through here. And it's literally because it'd be, like, crap, I'm going to do a bunch of work for that folder. Pull it out for now. I'm going to get to it later.
Gotcha.
So that's why you see that there. But what happens is then you can see right here, there's a for each, month array as month, and all we're doing is just building an array that's got these various folders in it for each month. And then it goes to this path. So this line number 64 right here is where it's going to look for them. So you can put them wherever you'd like to. You can see that I was putting them in the just Ubuntu, your normal login user directory. I had a directory called archive, and I was creating a folder in there for each one.
Okay.
As the stuff comes out of the archive, you'll see that they've got it busted up then into 4-digit year / 2-digit month / and then there'll be all the content for that month. So if you just take the zip file they send you and extract it out into a folder here, then you can change this, part of the path right here to be whatever you'd like it to be.
Right.
And when you do then, you can see archive here.
Yeah.
It does the same thing as the others. It actually has a working folder where the one it's working at that moment, it'll put it in. But then the others will stay out here until they've been completely processed. What I would do, and you can see where I've done it here, I would just leave my zips here because I knew I had plenty of drive space to work with, and then extract them out and process them. So all you'll have to do for Brownsville literally is first off, look and see what your date ranges are. It varies per publication, obviously, depending on how long they've been using that editorial system.
Right.
To help you decide what to do up here as far as your month arrays go. And then just change your path right queue. Now what you'll find if you get to looking through the rest of this then, this is just like those local ingesters. You're going to see common stuff where it's pulling out the bylines and all that kind of stuff. But then you will also find these category things that you're going to want to change. So for instance, here's, looking for the author emails, the names they give you versus what the email address winds up being in WordPress. You'll find the same kind of thing for here's your category switches. If it says this, it's going to be this. Frankly, that's the hardest part of processing those archives. Is no one can give you a good answer as far as what values am I going to run into here. And so what I would always do on those is just like we were doing earlier, get into that directory and actually do the PHP space archive ingest.php and let it run, watch it, because you'll see it bounce out with complaining about, I don't know what category this is, I don't know what author this is. Then you can bounce back into the code, create an exception for that, save it, run it again.
Right.
It's a pain, but the longer you do it, the better it gets. That's why, each day you'll be like, I don't know exactly how much longer this import's going to take. It's getting better. I got it to run 20 minutes this time or 2 hours this time. It just depends on what it runs into. So.
Right. Okay.
And when you're 80% of the way there, when you can see that you've got them almost all the way published, then is when you will find another 3 dozen people you've never heard of and categories that make absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, does that all make sense to you, Doug? It kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, the only thing that scares me about Brownsville is got like over a terabyte worth of data. I mean, it's compressed.
Their archives are massive.
Because I remember when I worked at the Herald, I took their Stouffer archives and converted them all into SQL and put them online, and their data goes back to the early 90s.
I remember having that conversation with them. They were talking about, how much archive material they had and how, frankly, sort of addicted to it they were. Because what I suggested to them at the time, because of the size of those archives, was, guys, let's keep 2 years worth of content.
Yeah.
Anything further back than 2 years doesn't need to be online. And I remember the hair stood up on the back of the editor's neck, and she raised holy fair hell that there was no way they could lose those archives. It was the only place they had any of that information, and it was really a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how far along you guys have made it with like your newspapers.com contracts or anything.
We're using them a lot, and that's kind of our plan.
Trying to get those guys into newspapers.com and tell her that's our new archive, and then just bring in a couple of years worth of data. Because otherwise, that site's going to be slow as molasses just because of the size of the database is trying to get through.
Okay, cool.
Let's see. So the Brownsville Herald, no images in RSS.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to me because the Coastal Current, I think, has them. I know the Star and the Monitor do. I don't know if there's a setting or something somewhere, but there are no images showing up in the Herald's RSS feeds.
Yeah, that absolutely is a setting. I'm trying to remember exactly where that screen is because it is literally just one you slide over and they come on.
Weird. Yeah, I could not find it. I poked around all over the place.
I know in Indiana I had to install a plugin, and then 2 versions later in WordPress they made it a default, but you had to turn it on.
Because I remember we didn't have to do any of that for when we switched over the Monitor and the Star, or even the Current.
That may be because I did it.
Right.
Let me take a note.
Okay.
Let me try to remember how I did that. I don't remember if I added it to their
Because
theme.
I know there's a way that you can add some PHP to the theme. And I actually even tried adding that with the PHP inserter, and it didn't do anything.
And it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't seem to fix it. So I'm not entirely sure. So that's one thing I definitely wanted to poke the brain about. So our apps now, for instance, just have no pictures.
Oh, okay. Let me get my logins, and I'll try to log in and remember how I did that. We don't all have to stare at the screen while I try desperately to remember something that I did a year ago. That's going to take some looking. I know it was different in Indiana. In Indiana, I installed a plugin. I did not have to install that same plugin by the time I got to you guys. So now I'm just trying to remember exactly how I did it. And see, it's weird that because you guys are using the same theme, right? You stuck with that newspaper theme for all the sites in Texas.
Yeah, it's a
So
great
I
thing.
built it into the theme.
And I've copied, every time I built a new one, I'm actually bringing over all the settings from the monitor and then adjusting them. So it's not a newspaper thing.
Okay.
Setting.
Well, let me dig.
Okay.
There's clearly something. I just don't remember. My brain is failing that piece of it.
Sure.
And it looks like the last one we got on the list is from Amber. And she said she's having trouble writing to multi-sites.
Yeah, so for example, we wanted to add, and I know this is dangerous, add some code, maybe like HTML for a manually place or even an ad spot image into the homepage file, for example, for one of the sites on Ohio.
Okay.
But I know that it's dangerous to do it within WordPress, so I access it through FTP. But as I try to make the changes, it doesn't let me save them. It says it cannot be written to the server. And I'm assuming that that's because I'm using FTP, whereas it should probably be connected via SSH. I have no idea, to be honest.
When you connect via FTP, are you using like CyberDuck and actually using the key file the same way like Adam and I or Doug get into that server, or are you using a username and password? I don't remember.
So I'm using the key file,
Okay.
but through FileZilla, not CyberDuck.
Shouldn't make any difference, frankly.
Shouldn't.
That's what I figured. It's just, maybe I'm doing something wrong.
Well, let's just take a glance. Let me get over to one of those Ohio servers here.
And this has happened for both Ohio and Indiana.
So they should be very similar. So what you're trying to do is then edit, I'm assuming like the theme, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
All right, please. There we go.
Oh, okay.
I thought the same thing you did for a second, Adam. I heard you go,
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So here's the WP content, and that's probably exactly what you're running into, Amber. Yeah, that is exactly what you're running into. And it's one of those pain in the butt kind of things, but we run into it on these WordPress servers. Because you're actually signing in as Ubuntu, which is equivalent of sort of like a root user.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. All of these files inside the WordPress stuff are owned by an owner called www-data that's in a group called www-data. So you actually don't have permission, as strange as it sounds, to write those files because You don't own them and you're not in the same group as the owner.
Okay.
To take all of this one level more complicated, you can't add Ubuntu as a user in www because it is such a faux pas security-wise that they actually forbid it in the Ubuntu operating system. They won't let you add your root user to that www group because then if somebody hacks their way in and can get access to the www group, they can become root and then you're really in trouble.
Right.
So there is good news. If you're trying to edit a file, what I would suggest, and Adam, I don't know how much Amber has done this kind of thing, so you might want to help her a little bit. But if you come in the way I have here, come in via the terminal, and let's just, we'll go into the newspaper tile, because that's what I think most of those, oops, by yourself. Let's say that you wanted to add the functions PHP file here. You can see in this one, it's actually already been done, but see how Ubuntu owns it? That's the only thing that's actually going to be editing anything is going to be you and Ubuntu. You don't really ever let at least I didn't. I wouldn't ever go in via the web interface and do like the theme editor and try and do it that way because it's so horrible to do want to ever try and edit code that way. What you can do is the command, you want to do it as sudo, which is going to elevate your privileges. And you want to do a CHOWN, which is a Linux term for change owner. And so in your case, what you want to do is change, for instance, you can see, and this is not a great example, I happen to come into something obviously I have been editing, but you can see where on a lot of those files, you're going to see they're owned by www-data as the user and the group. What you'll want to do is make Ubuntu the user and the group that owns them. So you do Ubuntu : Ubuntu. And you can look up CHOWN online. There's tons of documentation around how it works. But really all you're saying is change the ownership to this user and this group. And in this case, we're making them both Ubuntu for whatever file you want. So functions.php. Once you do that, then you would be able to open it through FileZilla and save it through FileZilla. Because Ubuntu owns it. The good news is, because the way the permissions work, www-data would still be able to execute it because we don't have the permissions clamped down so hard that the web server is not allowed to execute something it doesn't own. So it literally then won't matter if you leave the ownership as Ubuntu, it'll be fine, but you'll be able to go in and edit the file without it complaining at you all the time.
Okay, gotcha.
Awesome.
And just for future reference, that won't just be a multi-press thing. You'll run into that in a lot of single WordPress sites as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've never run into it on my cPanel before, ever.
Yeah, frankly, cPanel that way.
I'm sorry?
So frankly, cPanel gets a little sloppy that way. It's actually a security risk the way they leave FTP open to that directory.
Gotcha. So there's one more thing that I added after the list was sent last night. We were having trouble with some ad spots that are running on
for Indiana.
Yeah. So Gilbert,
Hi, Gilbert.
Hey, good morning.
I know he's been here the whole time. Poor Gilbert, he's been so quiet. So he talked to OPSCO and to find out why that one site specifically wasn't serving remnant ads. And I guess OPSCO gave him a little bit of some information. Saying,
Yeah, so
I'll let you take over.
all right, so if you don't mind. So Scott, well, first of all, I kind of missed the first few minutes of the meeting. I don't know, did y'all talk about at all, Amber, the Herald's homepage about the ads,
No.
ads there?
No, that's another thing. So that one has been going on for a while, but I will let you talk about OPSCO first, and then we'll go back to that.
Okay. I guess we can let's go with OPSCO first, then Scott. Sorry, but the issue we're having with Brownsville Herald is that our remnant ads and even our local ads aren't appearing in here. Everything seems to be set up correctly through DFP. I know Amber's looked at it. I think Amber's looked at it too.
it's actually only happening on the homepage. And I think it has something to do with the Linux permissions or some. I couldn't quite figure it out. But we're getting an HTTP CORS error in the console. And like I said, only on the homepage.
Interesting. I wonder why double click. Is brownsvilleherald.com the domain in double click?
Yes. Yeah.
When you add domains to double click, you can add them with or without the S. So you can add them HTTP or HTTPS. You happen to know if you got it added with the S?
So for the URL, are you talking about for the key values?
Actually, this isn't the actual Google double click setup itself. So it's kind of like at the top level where you talk about the domains that you're going to be using, where you have to specifically specify the domains that are going to be included in your DFP setup. The way
it may have been. I didn't set that up initially, but I know that Brownsville Herald has been set up in our account for years and years and years.
I'm looking at it into it right now. Let's see.
But I guess it did. So I had an idea that it might have something to do with the HTTP versus HTTPS. For whatever reason, or I know the reason now, this script here for the flipping pages turns off our SSL because that is not served via SSL, right?
right.
The flipping page thingy there.
It can be served via SSL.
Well, for whatever reason, whenever I try to set that to HTTPS for the URL, it stopped serving.
So that's our town news widget, right?
I believe so.
So,
and so since it's turning off the HTTP on these pages, on all these inside pages, I figure that's why the ads are able to serve what I was initially thinking. But then I turned that widget off and the ads are still serving.
well, we can check that widget anyway. If it's not serving over HTTPS, their URL structure changes when you go from secure to not secure. The URL changes from period to a hyphen. So if it's not working when you change it, it's because the URL is actually different.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I don't know why that would cause ads to appear or not, though. That's kind of funky.
Well, maybe that we don't have the S on that domain.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely running into it's mixed content errors across the board. So this one is not getting the mixed content error. You're actually getting the secure, but it's being blocked by course policy because there hasn't been an access control origin allowed for this HTTPS version of Brownsville Herald. When you get in here, because it's throwing you the mixed content stuff and playing here, you'll notice you're not secure, and so I think that's letting these ads serve.
Okay, yeah, so that's something we need to work on. So then how do we fix the homepage issue?
You know, my opinion, just get rid of this damn thing. But why did you put those back? You know I hated those things. They're heavy and they kill your brain. think if you look in DoubleClick itself, you're going to find out that you don't have an entry for the HTTPS version of the site. And I say that because we've run into that before.
Okay. All right. So the other issue that came up this week was with the bcdemocrat.com in Indiana. So bcdemocrat.com, what happened is it's not serving any DFP ads. I mean any remnant ads, only local ads whenever we process them. And then after looking into it, and looking at the Indiana DFP, what James from AppSco told me was that it doesn't look like the Indiana remnant ads are connected to a Google AdSense account, because it all came to light whenever I had to go in and block a URL for an advertiser that was displaying some unwanted content, and the DFP for Indiana didn't allow me the place to go to block the URLs in the ad blocker. And the reason why OPSCO said was because we weren't linked to an AdSense account for Indiana. We are with Ohio and Texas, but not Indiana.
Probably 6 months before I left, it's not linked to an AdSense account, it's linked to an Ad Exchange account inside of DFP, to kind of different pieces. But they were linked at one point. Now,
so I'll kind of go in and add some protections. And when I went to add the protections, we didn't have the option to block specific advertiser URLs. And when I researched why that happened and why we weren't able to do that, I guess OPSCO said that it was because we weren't connected. The DFP wasn't connected to that Ad Exchange account. Let me see here.
It's OPSCO and outside company you guys started working with.
Yeah, for the header bidding.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yep.
I
think that was something you were looking into kind of right before you left, huh?
Right. I mean, frankly, if you're having issues with it, and I'm sure they would have had to do this anyway if you're doing header bidding, I would change the ad tags out and just tie them in, through the same DFP you're using in Texas and Ohio. I'd get Indiana off its own DFP thing if you've got to go through the trouble of changing your ad tags out anyway for the header bidding.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I mean, we haven't changed Indiana yet. We've only done the header bidding for Texas and Ohio. We haven't done Indiana. Indiana's still set up on their own way, but we saw that this week that the ads weren't serving. Looked in to find out why they weren't serving, and then we found that issue with the Exchange account. I mean, everything seems to be set up properly. They're just not serving. So I wanted to ask you about that. If everything was set up the way normally for Indiana, what do you think the issue would be?
I would look inside of. You can actually see the remnant ad tags if you look inside of Indiana's DFP and do a search for the word remnant in the orders. You'll actually see the line items there, and you can see how they're tied in. They were through. I'm trying to remember if it was Ad Exchange. I think it was actually an AdSense account, because there again we weren't doing the Ad Exchange because it needed to be tied into Texas and Ohio's DFP to do that, and at the time we weren't taking the time to change out all the ad tags. So it probably was Indiana's own AdSense account. Now, has something happened to Indiana's AdSense account? I know I got concerned about it when I started seeing the page girls and the pop-ups. Pop-ups will get you tossed out of Google. We had this discussion. They absolutely violate the better ad standards. They got Brownsville suspended from Google at one point.
Okay.
So maybe I mean, it would probably be worth checking to see, has Google actually thrown a suspension on that account? I noticed the quality of the AdSense ads were dropping like a rock. So I wonder if they've gone ahead and suspended the account.
Good question.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Have to look into that because I found the remnant ad tags. Yesterday, I saw that BC Democrat wasn't one of the URL hosts in order to display these ads.
Right.
So
The Democrat, at one point, the Democrat, and this may have changed since I left, there was some debate back and forth. The Democrat didn't want to run any remnant. They sold everything as share voice on their site because it's a tiny little community. And when I mean tiny, it's tiny. And so they sold everything share voice. They didn't want any remnant involved. So they, but since then, the person who was their sales guy there for forever has finally retired. And then from what Jeff was telling me, the other sales guy that they brought in to help him and who had kind of taken over actually was one of the people who caught COVID-19 and has been in the hospital and is in pretty rough shape. So it may very well be the reason they're saying something, because the existing ads they had sold probably a quarter at a time for what had traditionally been 4 or 5 advertisers that all just expired because there isn't anybody out there pushing them. And so that's probably why they're saying something, but they weren't set up originally for the remnant.
yeah, I saw that. And then this week I had Christy Riley up there saying, why aren't remnant ads showing on BC Democrat? And after looking at it, I saw that they weren't set up for it, or they weren't added. I added them on there, and now they're not displaying. So.
Yeah, I do know why they weren't on there to begin with, and you saying that triggered my memory because they were, and I get it, they didn't want to sell by the impression, because sometimes, especially through the winter in Brown County, if we sold by the impressions, we go broke. We make a lot more money selling share voice because that town rolls up the streets and just everybody leaves in the winter, and then they all come back, and it's a tourist town, so they're all there for the summer and into the fall, and that's it. So they had always just sold everything share voice.
All right, I'll look into that AdSense account. Thanks.
I have one last question. I had emailed it right after the fact because I forgot about it. Ohio has been complaining a lot. Outside users are complaining about getting 403 errors when accessing the websites.
The 403 error would mean that they had violated something in the ModSec rules. You could go into the ModSec logs and see what you could see there, although them just saying outside users are complaining that they're doing 403s doesn't give you a whole lot to go on.
No, it is not. But I mean, I've seen Facebook messages from their readers saying, hey, I keep getting this 403 error. So it's happening somewhat frequently, and I'd say it's only been for about a month.
I would start in the ModSec logs. I mean, it has very detailed logs, which is a blessing and a curse, because if it's only happening every 1,500 page views or something, it may take you a little digging to find it. But it does have really distinct logs. My guess would be, and it's strictly a guess without digging further, that one of the social media networks, and if you're seeing people complaining on Facebook, I'd start there, has added some kind of new URL query they're doing on the end or something like that that is tripping up ModSec. It probably looks like they're trying to do a code injection or something, when what they're really doing some new tracking thing they're saying on the end.
Okay, that makes sense. I'll start there.
Start there. It will probably give you a rule number that it's complaining about, at which point I would just turn that rule. We've got exceptions in there. Remember showing that exception? Just turn that one particular rule that it's complaining about off. Awesome. The other thing that you may very well run into, Adam, is that if you were to go in and restart Nginx on that main server there that ModSec runs on, it would run an update automatically on the ModSec rules. And if it was something that ModSec had run into a lot of false positives on, sometimes they will have actually updated the rules so the problem will go away on its own.
That's probably something we need to do anyway.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it'll only take it 5 or 10 seconds to do the reset, download the rules, and be back up and running again. So
Okay.
it's not a huge deal to do it whenever you want.
Cool. Sounds good. We'll start there then. I mean, I think that's it for the
Well,
list.
Hey, Scott, I just got one more email from Amy Roberts in Miamisburg. She's saying we are encountering an HTTP error when trying to upload SS PDFs to WordPress sites. This is happening across multiple pubs. We encountered this before, but it's back. We tried I can't read that word. The PDFs, resending, I guess, the PDFs multiple different ways and flattening them, trying to get them to upload. They are not too large. It just errors out when uploading.
My gut would tell me, as far as PDFs go, that it probably is ModSec. And there again, Adam, if you were in there looking, you'd probably see what rule it was complaining about.
Right.
And I guess my other question to them would be,
Why are they loading
What?
PDFs?
exactly, I was trying to come up with a nice way of saying, why the hell would just take a PDF on a website
That's
anyway?
my first question.
Yeah, if it's not a, government document, you got absolutely no other way to display that information than a PDF is the worst way to go about it, because it does nothing for you in terms of, any SEL value. You can't do it on a mobile phone very well. Just, avoid PDFs if at all possible.
It may. Well, is she in Indiana or Ohio? I can't remember. Off the
She's
top
in
of my head.
Miamisburg, Ohio.
Ohio. Well, then I don't know. Because I was going to say if she was in Indiana, then we have that upload error that's happening right now. But that's different.
And Amber, I would agree with you. The PDF would be the same way as an image in Indiana because of that amount missing. You're absolutely right.
Cool.
Okay, so Scott, you're going to go back and research the number one issue I think we had on the missing or the dropped volume. Yeah. And then there was one other thing I think you were going to check on.
The RSS images.
That's right. That's right.
That one will be an easy fix.
Yeah.
I just got to remember what the easy fix is, because there was, over the years, there was 3 different ways I had to do it. I don't remember which way I had to do it for Texas. So.
Okay.
Good.
Anyone have anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
Same.
Thanks so much, Scott. I really appreciate your time on this. It's really a huge help to us.
Yeah,
You guys are welcome.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
And don't hesitate when you run into things to send an email here or there. It's no problem. I'm going to answer questions.
Awesome. Appreciate it,
Okay.
Scott. You have a great day, man. Have a good weekend.
Hey, you guys too. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.